Welcome, everyone. I'm Astrologer Val Evans, and thanks for joining me. We are unfortunately talking about another crime chart tonight, and it is sad news coming out of Minneapolis. Yesterday, 17 kids or people were wounded, 2 children killed, and it is just a real tragedy. It was during school. It was the first week of school. So Minneapolis is in mourning, as is the rest of the country. So thanks for coming in. It's good to see some of you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hello, Buckeye Clay fan, Meg, Jen, Melanie's here, and Soda Pop is here, Angela, and True Crime with Eve. If you haven't checked out Eve's shows, she does some great shows. True Crime with Eve. Look her up, and great to see you, Melanie. Now, we are talking about a person who was born a man and was going through the transgender process. And this is part of the narrative of this perpetrator, this accused perpetrator. We have some signatures in his birth chart. We can look at his predictive soul return chart. We've got actually a bunch of charts. So I'm going to show you what I have. We're going to look at the USA Progress chart to see what we can see in that, if we can spot anything that would have any kind of profile to what has just happened. Everyone is in the country is just angry. There's so much sadness because of these innocent little children and their parents. And also think about the trauma that some of these kids are going through, hearing a really loud bang as this person who was called Robin Westman bolted the windows, the doors, and trapped these kids. And it just seems like something out of a horror movie. Hi, Chew. So we're going to look at the USA Progress chart, the USA Predictive Solar Return, Minneapolis Predictive Solar Return, the Westman birth chart, the Westman Progress chart, Solar Return. We got a lot of charts. Dylan Klebold's Solar Return chart for 1999 during the Columbine massacre, and the Minneapolis crime chart finally. Okay, so before I begin, let me just mention I've got some classes coming up. I think I've gotten a couple of requests for some weekday classes. So I am probably going to put those up tomorrow. And thanks so much to everybody who signed up. I'm really looking forward to it. And there's my book, Forensic Astrology 101, if you're interested in looking at crime charts. And of course, the crime chart is a predictive way of being able to see if there are witnesses in a crime. It's basically the horoscope of the crime or a crime. And you would take the time of the crime, the location, and see what you see. So we're going to look, it's really important for us to, when we're looking at like school shootings and here it was in a church, but when it comes to kids, we're looking at 2 planets mainly, and that's Mercury. Mercury means small, it means little, and often means 2. Usually it's when the kids are so small, they're running around like crazy, real fast. And it's also the newborns too. So really small till about maybe about 5, 6, 7 to that age. And so Mercury represents speaking. Sorry, I don't have my my slides done very well here, but speaking, smelling, your voice is high, short attention span, basically young. Okay, that's what Mercury represents. And so one thing is a great picture of a small child, Mercury, with a baby doll. And so what is she doing? She's twinning. Mercury is the twin planet. Everybody's carrying around a little baby doll. Not everybody, but it's typical. And so it can mean to copy. And it represents twins. So Mercury is really important in this crime chart because we're talking about the Twin Cities. And so we're going to be looking for that. And then also Jupiter is going to be really important. Jupiter represents once Kids start to get big. What do you say when suddenly they shoot up a little bit? They might be in the adolescence phase, might be 6, 7, around that time frame. And what do you always say? Oh, you're getting so big. Jupiter represents big. So that's kind of like the code for Jupiter is the code for big. And so you're going to be seeing these types of ages, young, but more to this age, but between the Mercury and Jupiter time frame. After Jupiter, for men or for boys, they turn into Mars at around 17, 18. Then for women, Venus. Now, I was looking at something on the news, and one of the kids' parents said something is wrong with this country. And we hear it all the time, especially from foreigners who were like, why would anyone want to move to the United States? You guys love your guns. You're always shooting. And so there's always that dialogue with what is the deal with the school shootings or just massacres of young people. So I'm looking at the USA Progress chart. Now, for this one, this is the 1777 chart. This is the Articles of Confederation chart, basically when we were really just forming the country. And so what I did was I progressed it. So this is basically the birth chart now of the USA. And so where are we going to find the kids? Well, the kids are going to be Mercury up here. Okay. And Mercury at the moment is in a T-square with Chiron, showing that kids are hurt. And not only that, but lots and lots of kids are hurt because of Pluto, meaning lots and lots. Fifth house is families and children. So fifth house is the Leo house. Chiron in Aries is making everyone so angry and also being hurt, blood. And so, and Mercury in Cancer, this can show, maybe white kids that could show kids who are maybe domestic, and kids who turn out to be, Cancer means fame. So it's unfortunately like posthumous kind of fame. I hate to say it that way, but so that's what that can work out to. So you can see that T-square. So when is that going to end is the question. Well, it's going to be 11 years until that square comes out. So we've got a while here. And often these shootings happen during the retrograde. So it's probably one of the reasons I probably couldn't have had kids because I would have been taking my kids out of school every Mercury retrograde. But that's when people's minds they revert back. They go back and forth with the magnetic pull and just sometimes go a little crazy. So this is the USA Solar Return chart for 2025. And we have Aquarius as this year the rising sign. And so this is like a calendar. You're going to read it counterclockwise. Every house is a month. So I just put the first 3 months here: July 4th, August 4th, September 4th. You're hearing so much about revenge lately with the politics, with the leaders and all of that. So that makes sense with Pluto being right on the ascendant of the identity of the USA, at least this year. So this is going to go from 25 and then through January 2026. And so you can see that as we got into the time frame of Minneapolis, we got into the Aries time frame, which represents anger, guns, abuse. And with Saturn and Neptune, Neptune is a church. Saturn, I'm not sure if it was an old church, but Neptune also represents the Catholic religion. But notice how there's a square with Jupiter, and Jupiter would be those maybe age 6 to 16, something like that. So you're seeing Saturn, which is death, and Jupiter, which is young people. And so that was coming in right as Aries started in the chart. So, these would be the first couple of weeks of August. And then now we're in the Aries time frame. And what is it doing? Everybody's just absolutely out of their minds, um, angry, especially the politicians and the parents, obviously. So we're going to look at the Minneapolis, Minnesota chart next. And this is the predictive chart, the solar return chart, July, August, and September. In this one, this is the time of the shooting, and Black Moon Lilith is right in there at that point in that date time frame. And so you can see that Black Moon Lilith is squaring Mercury, which is little kids. So you're seeing some kind of scorpionic. Scorpio is no holds barred. Black Moon Lilith, wild energy, and two kids would perish, which would be Scorpio. So Mercury showing 2. So you can kind of see that a little bit in the predictive chart there. So Pluto for Minneapolis, and for the USA, it would be Aries, because the country itself would be extremely, extremely angry. For Minneapolis, it's interesting how it's Scorpio. There might be some things that are coming out whenever there's a square with Leo. There might be some things coming out about bullying, not that have to do with these young kids, but maybe that has to do with the perpetrator. And there it is up close. You can see there's Mercury, and 12 degrees is the Neptune degree, and also represents Catholic. So Catholic kids, or Catholic group, or 2 Catholics. Now, this is Robin Westman's birth chart, born Robert Westman. I know, it's like full moons. The nights are intense and insane. Medical field doesn't like full moons either, yeah. Yes, I would. I would totally homeschool. Yeah, Melanie, and you're very fortunate. This happened around the corner from my old job. It's horrific. T-squares, lots of kites. Simply bored. Hello, Val Evans. I would really love a class during the week. Okay, we'll do that. And Tay, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Jen, you said lifelong trauma for the kids and adults in the church. So this is the birth chart for Robin Westman. This guy got a real crappy code. I believe he was probably an Aries rising. Interesting how, I don't know if anybody saw the picture of him. I have a picture of him in a minute, but he reminds me of Koberger a little bit, who I also assigned as a Aries rising. So when we are talking about him, we're talking about somebody who might have been angry, who was talking about his guns. So when we see Aries rising, we're going to look and see where the Lord of the chart is. And that's going to be Mars. And Mars is in a T-square here. And so this is very difficult. Mars in Cancer in the 4th house can be abuse at home, or being abusive at home. With Jupiter there, this is extreme, extreme abuse, and really probably had a tough, tough time as a kid. Let's look and see what his life was like when he was a kid, which was before maybe 6 years old, and then as an adolescent, 6, 7, 8, or later. So Mercury would be when he was real little. And so Mercury in Gemini is usually very good. But there were upsets here. You could see Uranus, which would mean maybe could have been changes in assets for the family. Might have had to move a lot. I'm not sure. But usually Uranus squaring Mercury would have been, it could have even been health problems where there were some upsets there. Thankfully, he had some blue lines, which showed that maybe he was able to stabilize a little bit here and there. Now, once he got to be a little bit older, Jupiter would activate for him. And you can do this in your own birth chart. You can look and see what your environment was like in these stages. And so Jupiter is opposing part of fortune in the 10th house. And also, it's kind of in a T square here. So might have been actually an angry kid, might have been overactive because of Mars, but may have just been not an easy kid. Now remember, he was a boy at this point and just running around, maybe a little bit of a hellion. I'm not sure, but looks because of Chiron. Chiron is so up. Uh, High up in his chart, showing a major clue, and in um, oh, that's interesting. In Capricorn, it can show loneliness because Capricorn in a bad square can show that you're all by yourself, all alone. It's very cold, maybe nobody to talk to. So that can be very difficult growing up. Then we get into Mars, which is over 18, and it starts to get even worse. It's much more because 12 degrees is a little bit closer to his rising sign in Aries. And there's just a big square. It's almost like he's either being hurt, he wants to hurt himself, or he's hurting. And these are a lot of wounds, a lot of wounds. Capricorn can mean rules too. So there might have been something with his background where maybe there were too many rules or he rebelled against the rules. He was tired of rules. He was tired of tradition. He wanted to flip the script a little bit. So yes, so Mars and Jupiter in Cancer is extreme abuse. And I almost wonder, and this is really interesting too. Look at this moon here. Moon with a blue line to whatever planet is the phase that you're running, which would for him be Mars at 23 years old. He would become famous because of that moon. Moon shows fame. So that's when he would become famous, unfortunately, for all the wrong reasons. And yeah, so really, really tough chart. Obviously, Chiron right on the MC. The MC represents his mom. So there are wounds with, mother wounds, which we've been reading about and really kind of affected his mindset. There's this T square too. Moon also represents the mom, and you can see it's in a big T square here, right here. So also Saturn square moon is death. Pluto, lots and lots of death. So he would see a lot of death, including his own. And of course, he unalived himself. So that Uranus is going to come into play here. Mercury is, in general, your mindset. Might have had that on his mind, depending on the transit. So let's look at his transits after I explain how this means extreme abuse. Look at what we have. We've got Jupiter transiting through here, which shows extreme, really wanting to harm or really feeling harmed. At the same time, there's a square at this moment when he would commit this terrible crime. Jupiter squaring Mars. Probably a lot of guns, a lot of gunfire. He is in his 12th house affection. The 12th house is usually, it's the last house before you start your next cycle. It can be very solitary because you're planning things. It's the planning house, and it can feel very, very lonely and confusing. Also a Leo too. I mean, really, if you were to look at him, usually a very big face like that is, for a man, is a Leo. So we've got Leo and Aries going on for him. The mom is not cooperating with the police, according to the Minneapolis local news. Buckeye Clay fan, Val, how does gender affect the charts? We're going to get into that a little bit because it's very interesting. We look at hormones. I keep my eye out for Cancer. Tay, you said allegedly he went to this school and his mom worked there. Not sure the details on when. Yeah, the eyes and the stare of BK. I know. Check out Minneapolis if you live in Minneapolis, or check out your city chart and look at the solar return, see what's coming up. It's always interesting. Sometimes, even if you can't really read the details, you can at least see the zodiac signs coming up for a particular month. And so you can kind of get an idea of what the sentiment is for that city. Here is Robin's progressed chart. Really difficult here. And first of all, we have Saturn at 22 degrees. And we also have Mercury in a T square with none other than Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. So this is somebody who really is angry. Mercury is someone, it's what your thought process is, what you're thinking about. This is just an absolute will to harm with no empathy or about people's families or anything like that. It's just a complete wild animal and a square to Chiron. So thinking about hurting people. He can't help it. Also, Saturn, did I say Saturn at 22 is also the kill or be killed degree, but it's also just the danger degree. It doesn't always mean killing. Now, with the North Node here, this is right next to Saturn, and Saturn means depressed, sad, and there's an opposition here with Pluto, and Pluto is murder. So he's just extremely, you can see how depressed he is. There might also be money issues too because of Saturn in the second house. But what's really telling is the 18 degrees. Got a couple there, got a couple. And also check out all that Cancer. What does this say? I think it says some hormone problems, some hormone issues from the transgender. I guess he had surgery or treatment. Now, Dylan Klebold's progressed chart in April 1999, when he committed those murders with his friend in the high school, you could see all that Scorpio, which is a lot of revenge. He had his mind set on getting revenge. So Mercury was in Scorpio, just like in the Idaho murders. Um, this was mind is obsessive, needing to get revenge. And for him, it was getting revenge on bullies. So whenever Leo is in a square in a predictive chart you have for the year, there could be some bullying. It might not be directly towards you, but you'll be hearing about it. And so there we also have 18 degrees, which is like the devil degree. It's also the Virgo degree, so it can be somebody who is very critical towards people or may feel very criticized. You often see with child or school murders, that kind of thing, there's either Virgo where they're being criticized a lot, or there's Leo where they're being actually bullied. The other thing in Robin's progress chart, of course, the progress chart is the birth chart now. It's your natal chart, but all the planets have moved to this point in your life. And so this is the snapshot of, basically your chart now. So interesting for him, Venus is at the 29th degree of Regulus, which is the royal degree. And you can see that it opposes Uranus, which would show when you've got an opposition with Uranus, you can see sometimes suicide, or I said that word, unaliving. And interesting too, how Venus is female. Okay, so a change could be, like a sex change. So, and made him just go out of his mind. But I really think that with all of this Cancer, which is hormones, it's almost like 18 degrees is evil hormones with this square to Libra. A square to Libra in medical astrology is an imbalance. So, hormone imbalance. I mean, that's what I'm seeing here. So there's the mindset, which is depressed, and then on top of it, these hormones. It's sort of like a recipe for disaster. This was somebody who was interviewed today or yesterday saying that his friend got hit in the back, and that would be, of course, Leo. Now, with the crime chart, let's look at the crime chart. Mercury is ruling the chart in Leo, representing the heart and the back. And also 2, also kids. This is at 8:30 a.m. on the August 27th in Minneapolis. And we're going to look at the perpetrator, which is the seventh house. It's in Pisces. Pisces represents transgender. And so here is Neptune right here, and it's retrograde. So this is somebody who is weak, who with Saturn could be depressed, or with Aries. And why angry if it's Aries? Because you could see the red lines. Red lines show losing a battle, as well as being extremely, extremely angry, maybe angry about his transgender situation, which would be Neptune. So you really get a good profile here of the perpetrator. Um, and it also looks too like, let's see, like with Uranus here, there's an actual nice sextile here to the planets that represent, and I say planets because they're conjunct, that represent Westman. You can see Venus here. So what does Uranus mean? To change. Venus means to change into a woman. And in the ninth house, this was going to show that in the press, they were going to cover how we had a sex change, I guess. And so apparently it was successful and it was fast. So maybe he was supported. Things went quote unquote well for him in the sense that he put his mind to it. He wanted to make a decision and the decision was made. Okay. So the crime chart, of course, ruled by Mercury, showing the little kids. And with Uranus here and Pluto, with a nice grand trine there, shows that there were some kids that were able to escape. Uranus is to escape and also go very fast. So also in the ninth house of press, that's going to show success there. So they were pretty fast. They were able to get out fast. When you have lines in your chart, like squares and stuff to Uranus, and say you might be going through a divorce or you might be moving and Uranus is in there and it's kind of hemmed up with all the red lines. It shows that you're trying to change and you can't, or you're trying to change something, but it's slow. For this, chart, things were done pretty fast and saved probably a ton of lives because of it. And so I thought this was very interesting too, that Mars is someone very angry. And keeping in mind that the first house is going to be the identity of the crime chart, the identity of the crime. And this is going to come into play here. We are going to be hearing about this for a while. Mars is angry. Libra is a politician. The moon is a famous politician. It's probably a man. And what's really interesting is, I guess, uh, of course, it's going to be another thing that divides a lot of people. And there's the bigger picture there. You could see the angry politician squaring Jupiter, which represents adolescence. And so trying to stop something. And I can imagine what that probably is. This is hormones, lots of hormones. And you could see that adolescence and hormones with Scorpio, this is sex organs. And then North Node at 18 degrees. This is kind of like um, gaining something, maybe gaining a change or something like that. But there's something, it could be the drugs, it could be an evil drug of some sort. I don't know what it is, but there is something nefarious in here, which would be this Black Moon Lilith. And, you know, it could also be that this angry politician You could see how the red line is trying to stop that triangle. It's like, whoa, 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 hold on right there. And lately, I'm not too thrilled about politicians, but it almost seems as if this could actually be a good thing because there might be a bad drug. 18 and Pisces is bad drugs. North Node could be like a foreign drug. So there could be something that's actually productive from the standpoint of politics. And I wasn't expecting to say that, but it seems like that from this chart. So it's kind of crazy how in the crime chart, Jupiter is so high up in the chart, which shows a clue. When you've got planets that are in the 10th and ninth houses or right on the MC, you are getting a clue. There's something that's formulating or percolating, and it's like, look here, look here. Well, this has to do with adolescence. This is something, it is definitely a, something that's coming in that people are going to be negotiating and fighting about. It's terrible. Okay, and yeah, let's see. I'm gonna go back to that progress chart is really tough. When you have you've got a stellium of planets and there's red lines that go through it. It's really extremely hard. It's also emotion too, with all of the Cancer there. But Cancer represents mom. And so it seems as if there are a couple of issues happening at the same time. One is maybe feeling abuse, feeling alone, feeling depressed, not having a good relationship with your parent. Perhaps also being jealous of, maybe little kids who seem to have, and I'm just guessing here, normal lives, and they weren't put through what he was put through as a child. And then there's also, of course, the bigger mundane events that are probably going to come into play, and that's the politics, the politicians. Politicians are really going to take this and run with it, and could be positive, could be some negative too. So whenever you see a planet way up at the top, and of course this is the progressed chart again for the alleged perpetrator, this is a fall. So female falls. And it's weird because 29 degrees of Leo, you know that with Venus there, that's a queen. So I'm wondering if we're going to see anything that has to do with the word queen on it. Maybe a street, maybe a person, um, something might happen there. 11th house is social media and friends. So, yeah, maybe there could be some friends that are talking about Robin. It doesn't seem they usually don't have a lot of friends, so it'll be interesting to see who this is. But I mean, obviously, this is Robin because this is the chart ruler. But there could also be somebody else who's talking who is an actual female. So we might see different themes that are very similar. I mean, this is a royal too. So this could be maybe some kind of an omen of, when something shocking like this happens, usually like right after something else happens, it's kind of the similar type of theme. Could be shocking, could people could have the same kind of description. So, and then because of the twin clue with the twin cities and Mercury, it makes me think that there could be, and I hope not, a twin event. So yeah, lots of mom issues. And between kids and parents that don't support, probably picked on him. Yeah, Darlene. The kids must have known that he was going through the change. Yes. Feeling definitely bullied and depressed energy, really. And yeah, it was the hormones. Parents are divorced. Yeah. Oh, Erin, I'm sorry to hear that. I reside in Minneapolis and I've been so sad since yesterday. I was really down yesterday. I just could not motivate. And I remembered that it was the last day of shade, or we're in the last days of shade, and that can really take down your energy. How was dad in his or her life? It's a good question. I'm not sure. A lot of hormone imbalance. Wonder what the Minneapolis chart looked like during the George Floyd death. That's a good question. We could look it up. The mom is not cooperating. Okay, you said that. Okay, so let me look into that. Well, let me do a card and then I'll look into that. I guess what I want to look at is if there's going to be a twin event. Let's see. Okay. Twin event. See my cord there. All right. Will there be I hope not, but because of so much Mercury, that means two. We already saw two kids. Are we gonna be seeing a second type of school or child tragedy here, or child massacre? I hope not. Okay. 8 of Pentacles. Looks like no. Looks like the internet's going to be turned upside down. Clarification card on a twin crime that might happen in the next maybe month or two. So 7 of Pentacles. So it could be something kind of formulating or starting, but so much Leo right now. Not my favorite when it's not aspected. Really tough stuff. Yeah, like a copycat. Thank you. All right, so Minneapolis. Let me look up that chart. And I'll share it. Okay, where am I right now? Hold on one second. Just lost my camera. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. And let me share it. Let me just do that. Okay, so that's the Minneapolis chart. And then George Floyd. May 25th, 2020, algal season. So that was May. So that would be the 20. Hold on. This was 2020, May 25th, 2020. It's funny how they show the perpetrator when you pull up his information. They don't show George Floyd. Okay, so if this is a July chart, is it a July chart? We are going to go the year before, so it would be 2019. So we're going to click on Solar Return. And now we're going to put 2019. And then we're going to click on Solar Only. Holy God, look at that. Wow, look at that opposition. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. So I'll bet meet Ukrainian women ready to connect. I wonder how I got that algorithm. All right. So what you would do is you would look at July, and then you would have to go back so this would have been June. Then this would be May. So May, June, July. This would have been May 10th. So wow, this is around the time. Now you're going to add the aspects because you want to see what's going to be connected with Lilith. And so could have been here, May 25th, 2019, or Uranus could have been activated. Where's Uranus? Uranus is here. Oh my God, look at that. Yeah, it's likely it was here because you see Uranus. This is a big shock. And then squaring Mars and Mercury. Well, Leo is a kid. And so yeah, with the square there, this is a shock. This is a shock. And the police, remember, Leo is law enforcement officer. So the police shock. Mhm. Then you have this T square here. You have a T square with the moon. And when you have bad aspects with the moon, that means the public isn't having it. The public is against the police. Mars is the police. So also we have Libra there, which would be famous politicians would get involved. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it's crazy. For days after the riots were very scary. Yeah. Lots of unrest and people fed up, all understandable too. The day George Floyd died was horrible, felt like a war zone that night. Yes, and that would have been, Mars would be war. Mars would be war. And yeah, so Uranus, can you believe that Uranus is exact on the rising sign of the solar return of Minneapolis for that year? And it would activate, like, I'm sure it would probably activate that 1st July. Maybe something shocking happened um, in July of 2020. No, July of 2019. But then you'd go all the way around, and it wouldn't be until Uranus activated again in Aquarius that this would be set off again. And so this was, remember, Leo is fires. So Mercury would be groups of fires. 4th house would be homes. And also look at all that. The Cancer there shows a lot of famous women. There are psychics. There are, these are homes. Cancer shows homes. And with square to Aries, that's a fire sign too. So just lots of fires, lots of fires. And also, I wish I could mark this up, but I can't because I'm sharing the screen, not my presentation, but you can see this T square here. And what's at the top of the chart? Oh, you've got Saturn is, Saturn is, it can be older people, it can be dark skinned people, it can be, it can mean government. And then you have Pluto. So it's kind of like revenge on the government, revenge of the government. And what's really interesting too is Pluto's lots and lots. And Saturn is returning back again and again and again and again and again and again. So for many years, there would be a lot of people who were referencing what had happened. So, and South Node can show despair, being stuck. Also in the 10th house, that is the house of the government. And a lot of people out in the open. The 10th house shows things are being dealt with for all to see. When you have things in the 4th house, it could be more privately, like you can't see who maybe is setting the fires or anything like that. Up here, this can represent people who are maybe marching. That Neptune there, this is a lot of video, and this video would return again and again and again and again. So Saturn to return, Neptune video and photos. Ugh, so tough chart. Okay. Yeah, it's like a constant replay, hot tempers. So anyway, thought I'd just show you those charts. The crime chart is super interesting, but we're going to have to see how this plays out. This is one of those charts that is going to set off so much for the politicians, but they actually, there are going to be some bad politicians for sure, but it does seem like someone is fighting something evil here, and they might get to the bottom of what it is. Maybe I'll pull a card here and ask, are we talking about, when it comes to this perpetrator, Are we talking about something that happened to him that has to do with maybe a pharmaceutical? Okay, we've got a Leo reversed. Okay, this is children. Um, it could be the no card, but clarifier on whether is this a hormonal type of situation? I mean, it's a couple of things, but Two of Cups reversed. So, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's just simply I saw all of that Cancer though. Now this could mean also a relationship that wasn't working and maybe there was a depression there of some sort. Maybe we'll see something that has to do with a blonde or a relationship. Maybe it was more something where he was, oh gosh, you know what? That would represent having sex, which would be the Leo card reversed. So, and this happened, I think, in another case where the perpetrator went out of his mind because he couldn't have sex anymore or didn't think that he could. So, this can really set off a young person, a young man, especially. So, maybe this is more the case here. Will there be any fight with like a drug company for this or a certain kind of drug? I know I already asked it, but I want to ask it one more time. Keep getting no. No, another no card. So, I don't know. It looks like a relationship is involved somehow. So I guess we're going to have to find out what it is. Um, Even though maybe it isn't a hormonal issue, it seems as if that's at least going to be talked about because it is in the chart. So I think we're going to be hearing at least the dialogue about it. It's going to be part of it. So, well, thank you for looking at the charts with me. I really appreciate the input, and we'll have to see what happens in the coming days. But tomorrow I will be on with Amber, and I hope you can join us, even if you don't really follow the royals. It's great for practice when you're looking at individuals and you want to know their predictions and you want to know your own. We are on live every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, so definitely check us out. And I'll see you guys in class. Talk to you soon.